So after a few weeks and multiple properties visited in Batumi, Georgia, today I'll really be breaking down my analysis on the market, what's going on, really starting off from an objective view, then going into some of the things that I see as far as marketing there, because I always like to analyze, okay, what are the kind of cognitive biases that are at play? What are the incentives at play with the people actually selling you the property? And I think that's a beautiful thing about having people objectively look at a market that don't have anything to sell, right? I'm not trying to sell you anything in Batumi, but if you actually go there, if you see adverts, there's an incentive at play, right? So they have skin in the game, and especially when you're buying it from a developer, which is the masses of people in Batumi, it can be a little bit scary of a market. So just right off the bat, I do have to say, I think a lot of people are going to make money in Batumi, but almost even more could potentially lose money in Batumi if you don't know where to look properly. I think this mass of supply, this really increase in inventory with all these giant buildings on the seaside, on the Black Sea, it's interesting, right? It's great for the developers, but if you're someone who's just interested in buying a cookie cutter apartment, this probably is not the video for you. Maybe you should go to someone who's just trying to sell you something like Orbi Group or Premium Group, all these different groups, which literally on every street corner in Batumi you see, little offices where it's, their sales offices, a lot different than the market here in Tbilisi where it's just, a makler, right? So it's a bit different, like a real estate agent, so someone who's just purposely selling you versus a makler here in Tbilisi. I'll talk about that more at the end of the video, but just to get into the objective view, obviously Batumi is here on the Black Sea. You have neighbors with Ukraine, Russia, Armenia, kind of further, I would say southeast, which I'm actually headed to Armenia in a little bit, and then Turkey to the south. Very interesting opportunities in Georgia in general. But as far as the map here goes, it's quite interesting because this is the majority of it, right? So this part of Batumi right here is where everybody is staying, right? So that's kind of that boardwalk area, and I can draw out a little line here just to show you. So it really starts right about here, because this is the airport, so that's their international airport. This is more of the dockyard, but really where you would be staying is closer to this area and kind of really anywhere here, right? So anywhere kind of in this kind of area right there is where a lot of people are going to stay when they come to this market. If you book a hotel, anything like that is probably going to be right here on the boardwalk. Now, personally, again, kind of going in between objective view and opinion, I find that there's a lot more opportunity in Old Batumi. So I'll get to that a bit more later. But if you just look at population, taxes, all these different things, in Georgia, the taxes are very compelling. It's very, very pro-business, very, very easy to set up a bank account, very easy to set up a business in general, right? So you have things like a 5% capital gains tax, 5% rental tax. It's pretty compelling as far as taxes go, a 20% flat personal income tax. So all those things, I think, bring a lot of people to the market. But you have to understand, if someone in Batumi is selling you on just that specifically, you got to zoom out and go, okay, it's not like it's just in Batumi is the only place you're able to purchase property and have the kind of tax benefits. You have all of Georgia, and specifically Tbilisi, I think, is one of the most compelling markets in Georgia. But for Batumi right here, as I was saying, all along this boardwalk, what you're going to see here is massive buildings. So, for example, right here, this Orbi Group, which is one of the most mass-market groups that I saw personally there, I went and looked at a bunch of different properties with a bunch of different groups, and I tried to kind of look at some just personally without kind of those biases and incentives at play, because you have to always understand that as they are selling you something, yes, if you find the right person, they'll be focusing on your value, but nobody's going to care about your money or investments more than you, right? If they say, hey, I'm going to hold your hand all the way along the way, you got to be looking behind them or looking what's actually going on in the market. I think that's one of the most important things here. But again, these massive buildings right here, I actually stayed in this area. There's some really beautiful hotels here that are incredible, where I think there is some value add to the market. But these cookie cutter buildings like these two right here, there's another one actually going up right here. This is Google Maps needs to update this because the building's literally just as high as this basically now. And it's a brand new development, but there's so many of these going up. And I think, as I talked about in the beginning of this video, you really have to look at this from an inventory perspective, okay? So you have an increase in inventory, so you have an increase in supply, but that demand factor is where I'm not so sure how much more you're able to sell this market than they already have, right? So you see all these new buildings going up all along here. You also see some buildings here. So this is Heroes Walk. I'll actually probably add a clip here in this video when I'm going through and editing. But right here near the end, so this is the Heroes Boardwalk, and right here you have the arena. But when you get into this area, this is a bit more of like an industrial area. One of these buildings right here, I should have a video clip of it that I'll probably insert here. It was advertising for $440 per square meter. Now, this is very, very interesting because it's ultra cheap real estate. But again, what are they doing? Well, you have this mass inventory, right on the seaside here. And then someone who has to walk all the way from the seaside all the way back here past the arena. There's kind of like, I think the Black Sea Mall is somewhere in here. There's multiple malls in Batumi, by the way. But right here, they were advertising a big billboard, right, saying $440 per square meter. Pretty crazy as far as ultra cheap real estate goes. I personally think anything under $1,000 per square meter is pretty cheap. But as I was saying, I actually stayed on this side of the market. So again, to kind of break this down, this is where the masses of people stay, right in this area. And then as you get here to kind of this like Batumi Boulevard area, there's a nice park. There's nice restaurants along here. And then you go into the ports of whatever you call it, like the shipyard or dockyard, where you have a lot of imports and exports going right here. You have a train station further along this area. And as I said, you have the airport right here, which is really where it cuts off. But the thing, again, that you have here that you don't have in a city like Tbilisi is this massive land where you can build it and build sky high. Here in Tbilisi, you can see all behind me. I'm here. You're really in one of the main downtown areas of Tbilisi, and there's no massive buildings. If I was recording this video on, I think I'm up like 5 stories, but if I was recording the same video in Batumi, behind me, the background, you wouldn't be able to see the sky, right? There's so many massive buildings, and again, it depends on what are you personally optimizing for. And again, it really comes down to, personally, what I look for is value, right? So this is where I go a bit more opinion-based. I'm looking for value in a market. I'm looking for kind of niche deals that I can get into. If what you're looking for is a cookie cutter apartment and be kind of an absentee landlord coming into a market like this, and maybe you stay there for 2 weeks out of the year and then you try and put it on Airbnb the rest of the year, my question to you is, what is going to be your value add if you buy one of these cookie cutter apartments, right? Because these massive story buildings here, let's just go here, for example. Let's get rid of this. These are, I'm not at all advertising them and I'm not at all knocking them. I don't want to start any political whatever beef with the Orbi group, whatever. I don't want to do that. I'm just looking at this objectively to kind of help people who are analyzing the market gain a little bit better perspective. So one of the main selling points is this kind of beauty, right? And personally, when I'm looking at a value, like looking at investing in value, it's more of the diamond in the rough. So that's why I'm more interested in old Batumi, some of these older buildings. I have a video of when I was walking around old Batumi. I'll probably play that around this time. But a lot of these, right, it's all brand new things, right? All brand new, everything's new. That's where you're going to pay a premium, right? So you can do these things yourself. So again, it depends. Are you looking for, are you someone who already owns business, you have 4 kids, and you're looking to just buy a place, set it, forget it, be in one of these massive buildings, right? So I stayed near this area. Again, this is kind of that Heroes Boardwalk there. That's like the Sky Tower. But if you are walking further that way, that's kind of that Heroes Boulevard, where just down the road there, you have $440 per square meter. And here you have these brand new buildings where they're just not stopping, right? They're literally building these sky high. And the main thing, again, is this land. And in the land thing, as I was saying, you don't see this in Tbilisi where you have all this room to build, right? So this is kind of the end of where you would walk if you were walking. I walked pretty much as far as you could both ways. I also took like a scooter along the whole boardwalk. But once you get here, obviously, there's not going to be a ton of people who are going to build over here. But the point is there's really no cap on how much this inventory can increase. And for me, when I look at that, what that's going to do is it's going to depress prices. And when you have this massive supply in the marketplace, it really is a bit of a cause for concern if you don't have a value add in the short-term rental market. So a lot of people are coming into this and they're going, okay, this is a small investment. Maybe they're investing under $50,000 personally. Again, I would not do that in this market. I would look for a bit more higher value places where you have a bit of a differentiating factor in the short-term rental market, because you go on Airbnb, you go on VRBO, you go on whatever it is, hotels. They're all cookie cutter, right? It's the exact same thing over and over again. And for me, at least personally, I think what a lot of people like to do, let's say they're going for their honeymoon or they're going on a vacation, you don't necessarily want to be staying in just a cookie cutter apartment where all of them look the same. There's really no unique factors. There's only so much you can do with a tiny square foot apartment like here with Orbi Group, the things that they kind of sell you on. It's really just these cookie cutter apartments, right? So again, not knocking Orbi Group. I don't want to start any beef, but it's just the fact of the matter. Versus you go in a place like Old Batumi. I hope you watch that clip rolled if I insert that in the video. But right here, this is kind of where you have the Old Batumi area here. I'll pull this out. Let me zoom in a little bit. Because I mean, the Old Batumi area isn't exact, but really where I would be looking at is closer to here. So Europe Square, they have like the I can't remember the exact name of it. I'm trying to blank on it, but it's like the Apollo Theater. So right here is where I would be looking at, kind of in this area. where I find it interesting, where you would still potentially be able to see the you'd still be able to potentially see the actual Black Sea from there, but any building, and my this is just like a general rule. Let's say any building above 8 stories high, I'm not so interested in personally, because these areas nobody's building massive skyscrapers right here, right? So this is an old historic village where you're able to. It's right next to the town hall. You have like all these beautiful buildings here. Maybe we can do a nice little street view. But like this is a massive clock tower. This is the European Square. Really, really beautiful. This is really the only, I think, maybe the tallest building in that area. But besides that, it's all like maybe like 6 to 8 story buildings, maybe max 10 story buildings in that area. Where I'm personally interested in like these. So like these options on the square here, where people go and stroll through. There's nice coffee shops. But to be quite honest, just on the boulevard. Some of the restaurants are overpriced. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the food's incredible. There's a lot of great places. Again, not knocking anything here, but this is just my opinion, is that there's a bit more value in getting in there where you're able to customize the apartment. Maybe it has a beautiful fireplace. Maybe it has a spiral staircase. I toured some properties with similar features. But when it comes to investing in these areas, right, you're competing against these massive groups, right? So every single person is getting the exact same sales pitch. And I think that's why, again, it's important to look at what are the incentives at play, right? Are they really trying to help you get the best investment, or are you just another one of the people filling out a massive amount of these buildings, right? So again, with this kind of branding factor, I like things like this. If you're interested in, again, if you're interested in buying more of a cookie cutter type apartment, you got to kind of pay a bit more so you have that value add. Like these are kind of more beautiful. There's a lot of them along the like especially this building right here, absolutely incredible. Along the boardwalk there, and again, the rental market's interesting. This Orby group has a ton of things going on. But you see this is like their Orby Beach Tower. And again, so that's kind of just my thoughts on the market. I'd be curious what you guys think. I'll potentially do a follow-up video along this, but I did want to just do it recording on my computer so you can see what I'm talking about here in Google Earth, how there's all this more room to build, right? And there's so many more things being built here. And you have to think, okay, if there's really no cap on the inventory, on the supply that they're going to be being built, and the developers are making so much money, you have to go, okay, at what point in time is this a good investment? No, don't get me wrong. Investing in this market 2010, 2011, before you had all these kind of pro-business changes, that was kind of, I think, more of the opportunity that I would have seen. Investing in it in 2021, that's where I would look more to Tbilisi, because again, Tbilisi, it's a bit different. You don't on every street corner have a sales office where they're pitching you on the Las Vegas of the Black Sea. I more think of it almost as like the Miami of the Black Sea, because it is a beautiful area. But I do find Tbilisi a little bit better, just to be quite honest. Again, I think it's important to get these thoughts out there, because I'm not selling you on anything. I personally am someone who's looking at investing in all over the world, not just Georgia. I'm actually heading to Armenia next, then Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all these different markets. And if you want me to make a video on any of them, let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. Let me know what you disagree with. These are just my honest thoughts on the market. Again, I wanted to make it a bit more casual. I can talk about rental yields. I can talk about more in-depth things in a future video, but I did want to get this out there just so you guys got a better understanding of what Batumi is like. That's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, button all. Invest Global. You can join the Telegram group down below. Again, leave me a comment. That's all for this one. Invest Global, and until next time.